In this video, we are going to be talking about figurative language. Figurative language is, of course, a way of expressing oneself that does not use a word's strict or realistic meaning. You are creatively using words to illustrate an idea without directly stating it. Two big examples of figurative language are simile and metaphor. A simile simply is when you compare two different things using the words like or as. I'm as fast as a cheetah. I'm tall like a skyscraper. A metaphor is the same thing, but removing the connective words like or as. For example, I'm a cheetah on the racetrack is a metaphor because it does not use those words, but it still makes a non-literal comparison. There are many other kinds of figurative language. Personification is the assignment of human-like qualities to an inanimate object. For example, in the sentence, the dark clouds appeared to warn me that bad times were ahead. The clouds are not actually warning you in this sentence, right? That's personification. The missing diamond hid snugly behind a log in the woods is another example. An allusion is a reference to something well known. If I say that chocolate cake is like my forbidden fruit, I'm making an allusion to the Bible. If I compare something I'm weak around to my Achilles' heel, I'm making an allusion to the story of Achilles, where his heel is his one weakness. You could say something similar with kryptonite, an allusion to Superman. Every time you reference any sort of recognizable property, that is called an allusion. Then you have a pun, which is just a play on words that have multiple meanings or sound like they do. For example, I might say something like, this banana is appealing, or why don't you make like a tree and leave me alone? These are very recognizable when you hear them and tend to elicit a response of some kind, whether it be pleasure or disgust. In your power focus area, you will determine the literal meanings of figurative language. For example, if the sentence reads, I'm washing my hands of smoking, that's an idiom, which is a kind of metaphor, that literally means you're going to quit smoking. Some of these will require prior knowledge of idioms. Let's talk about analogies. An analogy is a comparison between the different relationships that words have with each other. Some words are synonyms of each other, some are antonyms. Other relationships can exist too. For example, one word can be similar to another, but differ in degree. An example of this would be drizzle is a lower degree variant of the word downpour, both of which are different degrees on the word rain. Think of that kind of relationship like more, less, and same. Remember, synonyms are words that have the same meaning. Antonyms are words that have the opposite meaning. Let's do an analogy. Hot is to cold as tall is to... What is the relationship between hot and cold? Well, they're antonyms. So you'll want to find the antonym of tall. The answer here would be short. Lizard is to reptile as hatchback is to... Well, lizard is a kind of reptile. To complete the analogy, find what hatchback is a kind of. The answer, of course, is car. Hatchback is to car. Big is to giant as warm is to... Giant is a word that means the same as big, but to a bigger degree. When you think of something that is giant, you think of something that is larger than something that's just big. So what is a word that means warm, but to a greater degree? The answer is hot, or blazing, or blistering, or scalding. There are usually multiple answers that could be correct. Now, finally, we're going to talk about connotation. A connotation is the emotional or cultural meaning that a word holds. This is different from the denotation, which is a word's basic black and white definition. Let's look at the words confident and arrogant. These two words have the same denotation. They both mean to have a lot of pride and assurance in oneself. However, the way we use these words is very different. Confidence is typically used as a positive trait, while arrogance is seen as negative. Let's look at another example. Nosy versus curious. When we hear the word curious, we think of maybe a bright-eyed young child who wants to learn more about the world. When we hear nosy, we think of someone who tries to pry into other people's business. These are very different connotations. However, both words have the denotational meaning of wanting to learn more about something. If you feel confident in your knowledge about figurative language, analogies, and connotation versus denotation, you can take the Figurative Language 8 Power Focus Area. I recommend trying the diagnostic test first. Good luck.